Okay, hi to all of you. Now, I'm going to be talking about the 5 keys to success in business. These might not be 5 keys that you would have heard from older generation speakers, okay? So, as you know, things is changing a lot. So, there's 2012 is going to be an awesome year for people who do things a bit different in business, but also bring back some of the things that were prevalent back then, like, you know, adding good value to people's lives will never go away. I'll just start with telling you guys a little bit about me, so you know why this long-haired guy's up in front, speaking in front of you. Back in the 90s, I wanted to be a guitarist, so I used to look at rock magazines and guitar magazines, and I wanted to be like Slash or the guitarist out of Bon Jovi, and I always... That was
a better move, mate.
Sorry?
Plus a better move, come on.
I always wanted to be a guitarist, so that's all I did. I didn't turn up much at school. At the end years of school, I basically played in a rock band around Brisbane with mates of mine who were all a few years older than me and who'd all left school. So we used to write all our own songs and had a ball of a time, wouldn't change it for the world, but after a few years I realised I'd fallen into drug addiction and alcoholism and was kind of going nowhere, like my music took a back step. So I thought I was doing a lot, but I wasn't really, you know, and I didn't really know how to promote myself. I was under this illusion that someone's just going to find us and go, wow, you know, take us places, you know, whereas we didn't do much self-promotion. So when we recorded albums, we didn't put it out there and that sort of thing. So after a few years, well-meaning friends and family told me I needed to get a real job, so I got a job in the public service. I was a wardie at the Children's Hospital for 8 years, and whilst I loved being around the kids and I learned a lot from them, some of the sickest kids had the most to teach me, you know. Some of them were really old, wise souls, you know, and it wasn't really what I wanted to do with my life, so I was basically a wardie is a glorified cleaner. You move kids, but you also clean toilets and things like that, and it wasn't where I envisioned my life to go to. So one day I heard somewhere that the library's full of books and they're all free. So I went and got a library card and got every book I could on the subject of personal development, real estate, and business. So I just started, you know, I went down for my library card. I was living at Logan at the time and went to the Logan Library and just came back with too many books to actually read, but I actually got to read them all and just became voracious. And I learned to transfer my addiction, because I'm an addictive personality, into addiction to good things like reading, business, real estate. So I started buying properties no money down often. So some houses I bought around Logan, I put down $100 and that was borrowed off my credit card. See, in these books it taught me the main secret to success I found was, and most people don't realise this, or maybe they know it but they don't really know it, you know, is that to be successful it doesn't take money, it takes ideas. And in these books I found ideas and then I put them all together. Often the real estate books I read were, I hashed together stuff that was mostly written by Americans, so it had no relation to what we do here. They had things like buying off veteran affairs, you know, houses of veterans, things like that, and all their schemes were completely different. But then I created my own scheme and gave me ideas and gave me the belief that I could buy property no money down. So I built a large property portfolio. And at the time I was on $28,000 a year before tax. All the doctors I knew at the hospital were out at least hiring their BMWs and their Jaguars, and I was buying property. But the funny thing I found was everyone around me, it seemed, told me all the reasons why I would fail. And these books gave me the courage to sort of listen to them, but, you know, take it in, but just deflect any negative criticism. So I just started doing it and renovating and did quite well with property. So within a couple of years, and I wanted to be my new goal was to be in Australian Property Investor magazine. In two weeks of putting out that goal, I was sitting at a property networking event put on by the Reno Kings, a couple of guys from Brisbane who are now, I think, in their 60s, and they're doing really well. And Jeff, I really got along with. He was, at the moment, I think he's on over $1 million in income a year, and he sat down next to me, and we started talking, and he said, you know, I write for Australian Property Investor magazine, Rob, and I'd love to interview you. And I went, wow, I just put that goal out there and it's just been on to me. I didn't tell anyone about it, you know. And so they couldn't shut me up, as you could find out. And so it turned into, normally they do a 2-page spread, it turned into an 8-page feature in November issue of 2008. And because I talk so much, they had this tiny little photo of me, and the rest was words. So at one stage, I remember the interviewer said to me, "Look, we've got so much content. Don't keep giving us more, you know." So yeah, I always wanted to be a guitar player, but I ended up in Australian Property Investor magazine as well instead. So at least I ended up in a magazine. Now, the 5 keys to success I've recently discovered. As I said before, what I think is relevant for 2012. But I'd just like to know, you know, a bit about what you guys are doing. Who's selling business to business here? Okay, a few of you. And who's selling business to consumer? Okay. And keep in mind, we are all selling. No matter what we do in the world, we're selling. Okay, so having good sales technique can help you in life, no matter what you do. Okay, so you know, you've got to sell your partner, you've got to sell your friends, you know, you've got to sell your way into getting what you want out of life, you know, and some people might say, oh, sales, but you know, the more you appreciate who you are, the more other people are going to appreciate who you are, you know, so it's like I heard recently, you know, no one's going to love you as much as you love yourself. So, you know, really work on that and believing in what you do. If you don't believe in what you do, find something you do believe in. Because I talk to so many people who look for a job that they think might make them money, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll be a bank teller because they're handling cash, or I'll be a doctor. But then I talk to doctors and their HECS fees are 100,000 plus they owe, and then, you know, they might not even enjoy what they're doing, and they spend their whole life climbing a ladder and they realise it's the wrong ladder. Okay, so I've learned to really listen to your heart when you're going into a venture, you know, rather than, you know, here can often cloud your judgment, but think about, when has your intuition ever been wrong in business or in life or anything like that? I don't think anyone has ever told me, no, it's been wrong this time, you know, it's always right. So yeah, getting into the 5 keys. The first one, which is hugely important, is goal setting. Okay, and it was massive for me. Like, if I don't set goals like being an Australian property investor or starting a business with awesome people, I would have never got near that goal. And I remember a great sales trainer, Brian Tracy, used to say it's like, you know, shooting blindfold into the fog. What are you going to hit? But if you know what target you're going to hit, you know, you've got such a good chance of hitting it. So, correct goal setting, there's been a lot out there.
Just to clarify,
yep.
how do you distinguish between goal setting, intention, purpose, and all those related philosophies? Just curious what you said.
Yeah, it's good you brought up that, because I was just answering to that. Who's seen The Secret out there? Okay, so The Secret is all about you wish something and it comes true. Well, that's kind of half it. One thing I've learned is that there's a kind of a yin and yang side to it, you know, which are completely contradictory to each other. So if you want to manifest something or create something good in your life or attract something to you, there's some people who take the hippie view, right? And they're like, yeah, I'll just sit back and it'll come to me and I'll visualize it. And then there's the other people who just action, 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 right? Whereas what you'll find these days, and it goes, if you look back in the ages, you know, people like Thomas Edison, right? He created some of the most amazing patents in the world. He created film, he created the incandescent light bulb and things like that. And every time he couldn't find a way to scientifically, through doing, to achieve something, and like the light bulb, 10,000 times what most people would consider he failed to create it. He'd sit in a dark room and then he'd attract it to him. So he'd be visualising it. And people who don't believe in law of attraction, that sort of thing, the way I explain it is, we only take in a certain amount of what we see, don't we? So we might take in 10% at the most of what's actually going on around us in our view at the moment, right? Our subconscious takes all in, but we don't realise that. So when you set a goal or an intention, or you do affirmations, or whatever you want to call it, your subconscious is instilling in your conscious to notice things that might already be there, opportunities to get you that goal. Okay? So there might be you might be looking for money or looking for something like that, and there might be a suitcase of money sitting in the corner that most people wouldn't even notice it. Or there might be, and often opportunities come disguised as hard work or something like that. I've noticed that in my life. Just round the corner from some of the biggest failures people have is their biggest successes. It's just they never call them a failure, so they didn't give up, so they keep going. Okay? So the way I've learned to set my goals, just quickly, is first to set your reasons why. Because when you have reasons why to be successful, it makes it so much more powerful. Like, other than not just I want to be rich or something like that. So I write down people who I love around me, because I know by being more successful at what I do, I'm inspiring them. So a reason why might be to inspire your kids or inspire your partner or friends to move out of the jobs you see them that they don't like and they think they're trapped in. So I write down all the reasons why. Then I write down all the goals I have, and to the complete point form of if I want a car, it's, for me it's a Jaguar XF silver turbo diesel, and I know the interior. I've sat in the car, I've driven it on the M1, and it's suddenly you've got that car, okay? And you're going to work towards that, and your subconscious will marry with your conscious mind to create that as a reality. So you list all your goals, health-wise, wealth-wise, relationship-wise, and to a T down. Because I remember talking to someone recently and she said, I wanted a smaller car. And I got a smaller car, I was in an accident. That car was crushed. Okay, so and talking to her, I realised that's all she put down. She didn't put down, and talking to her, she wanted a green, Beetle. So why did she write down the exact colour, the style of the car, the interior, because she's pretty cool interiors for Beetles these days. And why didn't she get in that car and test drive it? But you go to Jaguar, doesn't matter who you are, you go in and you say I want to test drive that Jaguar. They just ask you for your licence, they go and they photocopy your licence, they back it out for you and they take you out. And last time I went, he let me take it on the M1 and open it up, So, go in and do the stuff that you want to do, and then it's so much closer to grasp, isn't it, in your reality there. Then the third thing I do, so I instill, after I've written my goals, first my reasons why, then my goals, I instill in my subconscious future memories. So just as we have past memories, and NLP touches on this quite a bit now, you can instill future memories into your timeline. Okay? So it might sound a bit out there, but scientists have recently discovered that time is not linear as we see it. It actually moves in and out from itself. And the more scientists and quantum physicists look at this stuff, the more it sends them a bit crazy, because there's they don't understand it, they don't know if they ever will. But my limited understanding of time not being linear is that I can set future goals that are for me, rather than, what would you rather be, a victim in life and have things happen to you, or make things happen for yourself? So when I put down my goals, I say little things like, just say it was my Jaguar. I have this one that, and there's this beautiful beach house a few streets away from us on Broad Beach, right overlooking the sand. And by the way, that's how I got beachside. And now, you know, my next step, first I wanted to control the unit block beachside of the highway at Gold Coast in Broad Beach because I loved it. I got there, and the next step, I want to have a beachfront mansion. So you step up your goals as you achieve them, obviously. And so I now visualise myself driving out in my Jaguar, out of that beach house, and going to public speaking engagements like this one, or going to networking events. And so my next step, which is my future memories, would be I enjoy driving my Jaguar XF from my beach house to speaking engagements, and that's how I'd ride it. Okay? If you do this once a day, you're going to have a huge chance of success. But they did a study that between millionaires and billionaires, and you know they found one difference between lots and lots of billionaires and millionaires that they looked at. There's only one difference. The millionaires, on average, set their goals and reviewed them once a day. Billionaires twice or more. Okay? And I remember Mark Victor Hansen in an audio I heard, he was talking about a great man in Japan who was worth like $80 billion. And he'd said, Mark Victor Hansen said, "Can I see your goals?" And he brought out this like book full of goals. And it was a 300-year plan, okay, action plan. And he said to the Japanese man, he said, "How are you going to achieve that?" The Japanese guy said, "Patience." You know, so it's all about just setting that, and they set it for their, you know, for their kids' futures. You know, their kids might not want to take that on, but at least their kids have got a grounding in this stuff. You know. So it's important for people, if you've got kids, you can inspire them by being better yourself. You know, that's the best way to inspire them. I remember when my kid was 6 years old, he used to listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad audio over and over again. I tried to tell him, no, that's enough, but he wanted to listen to it every night, so he must have listened to it 1,000 times or more, right? Worn out of CD. And he loved the story about in Rich Dad Poor Dad how they melted down the old tubes of toothpaste to make money. And then one day he kept coming home with all this money from school. And a few years later, and he was a teenager, just started going to Benalla High. And I said to my wife, he's got all these $100 notes in his wardrobe, right? And $50 notes. And I said to him, what's going on, Jackson? And he didn't want to tell me, but then he told me, and he said, I don't know if you're going to be angry about me for this, but I found a place that sells cheap drinks, like Carton Loan. So I take him to school every morning. In 15 minutes, everyone just rushes me and clears me out. He puts a markup of a few $1,000% on it, you know? So that's an entrepreneurial start, I believe, you know, that things like positive audios and books have on people that can really determine their future. So yeah, are there any questions about goal setting? Who's doing goal setting at the moment? Yep. Every day? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I do it every morning, every night. So in the morning I wake up, before I get out of bed I visualise the whole process like I told you. And I have often about 15 top goals that I visualise, and then when I wake up, if I have time for work, I rewrite them out, because that's you signing your name to it. Something magic happens, you know. There's a saying, a goal not written down is merely a wish, which it is. Okay? So you're actually signing your signature to it. And then every night before I go to bed, I visualise it. The last thing I do. So, and that has an amazing effect, because during the night, you dream about different things, you wake up with new ideas, and some of it's really simple stuff, but it's stuff you hadn't thought of before. Like recently with our business with Andy, I was thinking, you know, I'm always trying to think leverage. Leverage was my number plate recently that I just took off now on the website. But leverage was to remind me when I saw it on my car, every time I saw that number plate, to not try and do everything myself like I used to do. And I recently just was watching this audio and I realised, man, business coaches, for what we do, we would be a great add-on to their service, you know, with us teaching people how to create websites and stuff. and business coaches have hundreds of people under them. So now I'm starting to network with business coaches a lot. You know, and I've had a few say, wow, yeah, I'm a boutique service, I have 100 clients. And I'm like, yeah, that's good, yeah, boutique, 100 clients. Rather than just one-on-one selling to one person, you're suddenly selling to one person who has access to 100 people or more. So it's amazing the simple things that come up when you goal set. Next one is networking. What we're doing now, I don't know if I need to go too heavily into networking. So my second key to success in business is networking. Since we started networking heavily, you can run your own meetup groups. Anyone can run a meetup group. You put up an account, you can have 3 groups under that account. I've got 2 accounts with 6 groups now. So there's, you know, with Meetup, does anyone know the story how Meetup started? Okay, it's a pretty cool story. When September 11th happened in New York, a few days after, I think it was 2 guys got together and they said, man, you know, New York has sort of lost its sense of community. You know, this is why this has happened, you know. They really felt that people, you know, with how the internet was going back then, you know, people were shutting themselves off from community and interaction, so they built Meetup. You know, and now I think there's over 400,000 Meetup groups or more worldwide. It's growing, and you could find a Meetup group for everything. And just when you're networking, it's not about just business Meetup groups. It could be things like, you know, hobbies you have. You'd be amazed who you meet and the friendships you build, the partnerships. Andy and I formed a partnership business out of the Meetup group. That was about a year ago. And, you know, a lot of great things happen out of there. And just to touch on quickly, the keys to networking is it's not all about you. It's about the person you're talking to, you know. So a lot of people go to Meetup groups and they're like, how many cards can I get out, you know? But it's about getting to know the other people. And I found the best relationships I've had is when I really find out what someone else is doing. And people love to talk about what they're doing, don't they? You know? So, you know, get out there and when you oppose it to, right, we've all started businesses, who's done cold calling? Okay. Yeah, cold calling, it can be good. It worked out for us in the beginning, you know, so, but when you go to cold call, a lot of people don't have the personality that they can handle rejection after rejection with cold calling, right? So it can either toughen you up or it can break you. Okay, so cold calling.
You did a great video on it, didn't you? On cold calling.
Yeah, Paul did it. Yeah, I videotaped Paul doing some fun things he did cold calling.
Yeah.
Paul actually makes balloons.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so he when he cold calls, instead of just leaving a card, he'll make them on the spot. He'll blow up a balloon and make them a little pet dog. Yeah, so we videotaped that and put it on YouTube. Yeah, that got a few laughs, and also when we were cold calling, people never forget the guy who walked into their office in the middle of Broadbeach or middle surface paradise and made them a poodle. And then they were going home, and these girls at the desk were going home and taking a photo of it and putting it on Facebook. And the photo was of the dog with our business card and our logo out of the dog's legs, right? So that was going across Facebook to all their friends. So it's a good way to get brand awareness out there. So simple things you can do with cold calling. I heard one recently we loved was if you're in business to business, giving them a packet of seeds, and you can get these customised. And on the seeds could be, we help your business grow. Okay, things like that. Yeah. So think of a quirky, original thing that's all you know, it's about you. Okay?
We had one pop up a while back. Sorry, it was. So like get like in the soft packets you get like from the post. Put a thong in it, like a gin or whatever you call it. And send it to a business. And then as part of that you say, oh, just a foot in the door. And then 6 weeks later send it on.
Cool.
There you go too.
I hope I didn't try the first one.
And that touches on another key, which is persistence, you know. So there's no substitute for persistence. But persistence isn't just one of the 5 keys, it's in all of them, you know. No matter what you do, whether it's goal setting, whether it's networking, it's persistence, consistently doing something till it gets the reaction you want. So I remember Napoleon Hill saying one day how he wanted to get a job when he was younger, and he sent a telegram once a week, and they said, sorry, no work here. Then he sent it every day for 2 weeks, sorry, still no work. Then he sent it every hour. They said, just come and work, you know? So that's how he always got the job he dreamed about. He worked for presidents of the United States. He advised, and he was one of the advisors that turned around they had a really bad flu plague back in the 1930s because everyone was down on the depression, and you know, so obviously their bodies were down, and there was this massive flu plague, and he actually consulted to the president and said, look, the media will fix this. If we get all the media in, we tell them to only print positive stories about how this flu is ending, and they did that, and within a few weeks, no one's getting the flu anymore, you know. So it's something that wiped out whole towns almost, you know. They were about to beat. So that's the power of the mind and what you read, you know. So right now, we shouldn't be going, I talk to some people and they're like, yeah, 2008 still happening. And I'm like, no, it isn't. It's happening for you. It's not happening for me. I'm going to be around people who are positive, and 2012 is a year of change and a year that the people I'm hanging around are going to be super successful, are going to help as many people as they can and have an awesome time doing it, you know? So yeah, the third key, so networking is huge, but the third key is websites. Who's got a website here? Okay, cool. There's still, you know, I've heard things like small businesses, there's still 60% of them still don't even have an online presence. You know, some keys that I've learned along the way is, it's like building a house, right? So if you build a house and underground there's no supports, there's no structure, right? That house isn't going to last long. I see it around Broad Beach because we have an old 74 built block which was built the year I was born, and it's never going anywhere. But next door there's a place that they pay twice as much per unit, and it's about to fall down from termites because it was only built 10 years ago. It's all pine structure, you know. So what I call the structure of the website is really the SEO, or the search engine optimization of it. So when you're building a website, normally what would you do? You go to a web designer, and most web designers are graphic designers, really. So they know how to make you a great looking website, but they don't really care if it gets found, or they don't really know how to help it get found. So keep in mind doing your research before you build a website as to what keywords are people searching. Okay, so what if just say you guys are in personal training, what is your client searching, and are you location based? Are you guys going through the net doing it, or are you on Skype, or are you just doing it one-on-one sort of thing, or in groups? Okay, so you're doing it live in an area? Yeah, so what are people searching? What area is that gym? Bow Desert. So it might be personal trainer Bow Desert, I would hazard to say, is your biggest keyword, or it could be something like personal trainer South Brisbane, you know, if you want to leverage it even more. So do the research on that, okay? This is kind of why Andy and I started in a day. We wanted to create, show people how to create their own websites the right way. So we teach them through the day how to build their own website with search engine optimization in mind, and also not have to spend copious amounts of money ongoing, because a lot of people, what they do is they build a website, looks great, then they go, oh, I'm not getting found, I've got this great looking catalogue, but no one can find me. Okay, so then what are they got to do? They've got to go to a search engine optimizer, and then to me those sites always look hacked a bit. So if you get me, like later they add all the keywords and it's not the same sort of style as the web designer originally had in mind. So if you're going to use a web designer, make sure that they're savvy on the keywords you want to put into your website.
What sort of investment are you looking at to start up a web page?
To learn to do it yourself, or to get someone to build it?
Who get a designer to come in and set it up properly? What sort of
there's no standard in the industry. So I've seen 40 grand websites that aren't as functional or don't look as good as $800 websites. Okay, so at the end of the day, it's really down to how much the web designer believes in himself, and we'll touch on this also with your products too later about how you can charge double for what you're doing now and sort of knock out the competition who are trying to compete on price. You know, because I believe in a market like this, and especially in a market like since 2008, you should never compete on price. Because that's
doing that now, so.
yeah, we'll come back to that, but it's, while we're on websites, are there any questions on websites? Okay, so if you have any questions later, you know, you're welcome to come up to Andy or myself or Paul. Paul builds awesome websites too. But yeah, there's no difference between, I've seen in a lot of 40 grand websites. We had a lady the other day built a website the same format as what we showed people to build in a day for $800, and she paid $21,000 plus she pays $300 a month for hosting, whereas ours is $6 a month. So there's no standard in the industry.
When did you buy that website? Like years ago when the prices were expensive?
How long?
2 years ago. It was actually $25,000.
25,000 2 years ago, $300 a month hosting.
Who did that for? You know?
Oh, we don't. Yeah, I do know, but I don't put down people in my industry. So I learned a long time ago, if you don't have something good to say about something, don't say it at all. So it's, you know, there are a lot of sharks out there, and that's why you need to get educated on this stuff, you know, and you know, there's a lot of free books out there. That's how I learned this stuff, you know. I'm sure you guys learn a lot of it from attending seminars and events, doing the stuff, you know. There's no learning like actually doing it yourself. And that's why we started Website in a Day, because we want to teach people how to build websites. But in the future, they might grow to massive companies, but when they're outsourcing, they know they're not getting ripped off, you know. Like you hear all the time, people getting ripped off, like $7,000 for what might be a free plugin that we could source in 2 minutes off the plugin repository, you know, where there's 17,000 plugins for the CMS that we use, you know. So
I have heard a couple of little things that Facebook is, you know, the way of the future as far as that's where everybody is and everyone's going, and that there shouldn't be any need for a website because everyone's on Facebook. Like, is Facebook going to be, in your opinion, like MySpace, kind of just feels that in the future, if it's a really good free marketing tool you can use? And
oh, definitely. Facebook is going to be huger than ever this year, okay? And you're right, a lot of people will never leave Facebook, okay? They're going to live on Facebook. The biggest growing demographic of Facebook, I think, is women from 50 to 60, I think I read somewhere. But yeah, that's the next step actually. That's the fourth key to success in business, so you preempted that well, Lisa. And you're right in a lot of ways, but also at the moment more than 80% of people are doing their research online when they buy a product, okay? So if you've just got a Facebook page, we've all heard of Facebook closing down pages that they don't think. So if you've got a personal page and you're selling business, I've heard a lot of people have been closed down for no explanation. You can't go up and ring, what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg. You can't say, well, hey mate, why don't you close me down, you know? They own that. The website you own, right? So the way I treat it is they all marry together. So social media is, I believe, for me, is nothing without my website. So we're active on social media, and as I said, it's the fourth key to success in the future. Social media includes Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube is social media. You know, who's video marketing at the moment? Okay. All you guys do, if you aren't, all you need to do is get a bloggy like this one over here, $100, which records HD video, and you can upload. You plug that straight into your computer. You edit it with a free program if you're using Windows. And there's free programs for Mac, isn't there? And you upload it to YouTube. Put a keyword-rich description below it, because that's what's going to, you know, raise the hits, and also put the URL of your website at the start of that description. So it's a great backlink back.
With LinkedIn, can you explain how
Yep.
how that works in Australia? Because I know that over here, it doesn't seem to get used as much, but in the
Yep.
United States, LinkedIn is massive. Like,
Yeah.
A lot of people don't refer to that for anything else.
You're right, in certain circles, LinkedIn isn't used much here, but it's huge in other circles. Okay, so my average friend on LinkedIn is a CEO of a company, whereas my average Facebook friend might be a muso I knew a long time ago, or might be someone with just a job working for the man, right? LinkedIn, if I added up all my average of friends, it'd be CEOs, business owners, entrepreneurs. Okay, so people actually out there doing it, following their dreams. And if you're business to business, LinkedIn is massive, you know, and in Australia it really is. We just recently started a group called Gold Coast Business on LinkedIn, and it's just been awesome. You know, people ring me up all the time, you know, to talk about it, and they're real big players, you know. So we're having, you know, from LinkedIn, each week I'm having coffees, meetups with guys who are just, you know, I always go, wow, I'm kind of eons away from where the game they're playing. But that's suddenly you're mixing with people who bring you up to the next level. Okay, so LinkedIn is great. A few little tips quickly about setting up your LinkedIn profile, because I believe everyone should have one, is when you add your website, don't go company website or, you know, or the basic my blog, that sort of thing. You can actually go into there and put a keyword-rich description on the link. Okay, so it might be just for you guys, might be personal training, as I said, personal trainers Bow Desert, right? Or photography Brisbane, and that's the clickable link for your website. Okay, and when you're setting up that profile, also don't be like, you know how you see a lot of people on LinkedIn and it's kind of boring, their description, and it's all like tongue-in-cheek, so it's, you know, like really, you know, sometimes they're just saying their role. Have a really cool explanation. Like the end of my LinkedIn explanation of myself says, and guitar virtuoso, right? So that's a little quirk that I have, which is me. And we've all got our own little thing that we're awesome at, you know. It's just a lot of people don't realise they've got that, you know. I believe everyone, when they're young, they decide they're either creative or they're not creative. But everyone is creative. Okay, so find that spot. If you don't know what it is, ask people around you. What's the thing that makes me me? You know, and they'll tell you. Your friends will tell you. You know. Yes, the social media is huge. YouTube, the ones I love: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Some people love Twitter. I don't have time to play with them all, so I concentrate on LinkedIn and YouTube mainly, and Facebook's more for my music. You know, I post up videos of me playing guitar and jamming with mates. You know, and the band and that. But yeah, LinkedIn B2B especially is massive. So get on there. The last key to success in business is your sales process, okay? So getting your sales process right, there's a bit of an art to it, you know?
Oh yeah.
And who's struggling at the moment getting their sales down?
We've just made a system for it, and it's working really well.
Cool, okay.
So that's even got referrals listed into it.
Awesome, yeah, referrals are huge, you know, it's that comes back to networking as well. You know, you'd be surprised if you come to groups like this, if you go out and meet people, have business cards on you. LinkedIn, as I said, you know, it's awesome meeting with people who are playing a bigger game, because it makes you want to step up your game, and it gets you introductions into some awesome places. Like recently we got invited, Paul came along with me, they closed off the top of Q1 for a special party, and we met some players, and one guy, he rang me this morning. He's flicking us jobs, you know, $5,000 jobs sometimes, you know, like on a weekly basis, and then every other day he might ring and flick us a $1,000 job, you know, sort of thing, and it's just been awesome. you know, with guys like that, and he's got such influence across the Gold Coast and the wider Queensland community. And we just met him at a fun party, having a few beers with this guy, and we just hit it off, you know. And you know, you get these referral letters, emails that he CC'd us on, and he's like, what was the recent one? He said, oh, Mark Zuckerberg wasn't available, so I want to introduce you to Paul and Rob. You know? And we were just like, that is cool. Yeah. So yeah, really get out there doing that. But the sales process, I've got a full day course on this, so I can't cover everything. And if I had to, it'd be a week course. But we've actually just written a full day course on the sales process. But to touch on it just lightly, it's having again, back to a unique introduction for what you do, okay? So not just I'm a personal trainer, or I'm a photographer, you know, or you know, I make websites or something like that. It's what do you do unique, and you've got to really work that out for yourself. There's a process we go through the day to do it, but you know, it obviously take a few hours just to touch on that introduction. So that might be your elevator pitch when you first meet someone. Say it's in an elevator, or it's waiting outside a seminar, or in a room, the first elevator pitch. And then having a good, what we call a personalised product pitch. So that's when they've shown interest in your elevator pitch or want to meet with you to talk about your business. And, you know, really getting people going, wow, I want that.